Uh, once, once more, Annie, we say welcome to you. Welcome. And juste avant que nous commencer, un peu le monde habitué avec programme nous, mais m'a juste pour it out there, essayer que les micros nous fermés, et si que nous gagnons intervention en question, que nous t'a préféré prendre à la fin, n'a juste levé mais nous, pour du moins aller là, un petit emoji ou checker, nous là n'a veillé pour nous qu'à bah, nous la parole. Ensuite, si nous avons n'importe intervention, c'est une plateforme qui est très ouverte, bien entendu avec un peu de respect, parce que nous connaissons tout le monde là, mais très ouvert, nous pas besoin de sentir nous gêner. Nous connaissons que peut-être dossier, domaine n'est capable pour nous, mais pas, nous pas aucune question qui nous a dit qui pas appropriée de la mesure que c'est apprendre, nous voulons apprendre. Et Annie là, comme professeur nous assoyant, après-midi, pour lui instruire nous, je que nous supposons instruire, et nous souhaitons que nous chaque là passe un bon moment et jouit de ça, Annie, pour le fin. Annie, you have the mic. So once more, thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Astrid Vietis, for such a warm welcome and just having me this evening. Good evening, everyone. I am excited to be in community with you all. Special thank you to Perret Durandis for inviting me and being here tonight, and as well as Madame Monique Baltazar for creating this opportunity for me to be amongst you all. I'm very excited. I'm also a little bit nervous, but I'm just really happy to have this opportunity. And again, thank you, Askit, for this warm welcome and just really instilling the scene for me, as we all are educators in our own respective way. And so this presentation will be together. It's going to be an open discussion, as we close out. So I just really welcome you all to be open-minded and just be in community with one another. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen right now with the presentation and then share a little bit about myself. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes,
I'm
we
gonna
can.
also blow it up. Oh, don't know what just happened. I'm gonna put it in presentation mode. All right. I may be missing a few people, but I know our amazing host, Astrid, is in the chat and we'll be able to see folks. So flag her down for anything. My name is Annie Jean-Baptiste, as common as a Haitian last name as it gets. I go by Annie JB. And specifically, I put my title down as an educator because currently I'm not directly practicing into the classroom. I am into the administration role, though I am speaking a specific French class right now at an independent school. I was born and raised in Haiti. I moved after the 2010 earthquake to specifically Waltham, Massachusetts, where I went to middle school, high school, and higher education, what we call college and university. And especially specifically, as Astrid said, we do value education, us as Haitian people. And so education was always something that was permanent into my homes that we always spoke about. Hence why my interest and love for education and just spreading positivity around the topic, it's very important for me, for young people and people in families who have young people around them. Um, I have this little bit of a chart demonstrating my master's itself. And though very early on into my career, I'm not sure if you guys have read my bio, I did graduate in 2021. I've held spaces in the classroom itself, and I'm currently in an administrative role. And hopefully, by the grace of God, I continue to learn more and just really get more knowledgeable to help a lot of people in our community. I want to go over the title in a little bit. I do want to say it is an ambitious title. Understanding the world of education. If we were to talk about the world of education itself, we would be here all night long. However, I did point out a couple of pieces that I think would be crucial for us to talk about to understand the world of education itself, and then honing into what a collaborative approach, excuse me, for the success of our students altogether. Those are our points of conversation today. So we'll talk about the overview of the education system in the United States. Although I was born and raised in Haiti, I have knowledge into what education was like then. And over time, I'm not sure if many of you are aware, there has been a lot of updates and a lot of rearranging into the education system in Haiti. I am just getting familiarized with what it's like to be in Canada and other places like Europe. But keeping in mind what we are going to be talking about tonight, there are strategies that can be implemented anywhere that you may live or that you may be in the community. So keeping an open mind about seeing what it's like in the United States and then being able to practice those strategies elsewhere. I wouldn't be a teacher if I did not have some activities for you all during the presentation. So we'll be engaging in a few of community activity. Then I'll be underlying the challenges that we face into the system itself that you may not have been aware of, although it's visual or it goes without saying, but the underlying challenges that goes underneath some of the things that we face day in and day out. Then we'll talk about what the collaborative approach looks like, right? So first in partnership we have is with our caregivers and our parents. And then the second in partnership is the role of a teacher. And I put educators in asteroid here or in parentheses because today I'm just honing it into those two groups. But as educators yourself who may know or people who interact with educators, we know there's a plethora of group of people that is involved within our children. There's everybody that makes up the school, the establishment itself is involved into our students. So again, we'll be here all night long if I were to sit in and to talk about everybody, but today we'll just be focusing into this basic generic group of these two groups. And then I'll close out with a call to action, a little bit of call to action as a community, and then we can engage in specific questions in discussion as best as I can answer them. Alrighty. So here's the overview of the education system itself in the United States. Understanding there are different types of the education system offered here that encompass public schools, which we all are familiar with, independent schools, charter school, in which we may be familiar with, Montessori schools, which is a type of education where it's more exploratory, it's more hands-on based, where students can just explore their curiosity, homeschooling. Again, those are just a few that I want us to be exposed to, but not limited. In each of these schools serve a different purpose, have their different community that they belong to, and also go by a specific policies within the district that they are in. Again, just to paint the picture itself before we dive into our conversation, that you may know that in the States, or commonly known in spaces, our grade schools go from K to 12. That is kindergarten to 12th grade, or from the ages of 5 and 6 to 18 years old. And that consists of preschool, which commonly not everybody has the capacity to send students to preschool because they are often paid. No matter the school type, they are often paid. Then we have kindergarten. Depending on the school system that you choose, it is often free. Then it divides into first to fifth grade, what we call elementary school, sixth to eighth grade, what we call middle school, ninth to 12th grade, what we call high school. In different parts in the world, those are called differently. For instance, even within the American school system, middle school used to be called junior high, and there used to not be middle. It used to be just the elementary school that goes from first grade up until sixth grade, and then junior high to or high school that goes from seventh grade to eighth grade. And we see a lot of the system has changed over time. Currently in the city of Boston, like the city of Boston, we are seeing a lot of push out. Like the city is getting a little bit too expensive for families to live in. And so the city itself is strategizing on how to redo their system. And they might be going into doing the 7th to 12th grade for high school. And in middle school, in elementary school, will be from first grade to sixth grade as a way to really keep our students within the city. And so those are just a little bit of a taste of what challenges may look like within the education system itself. And I pinned this picture to understand the key stages of federal and state policy that is essential to ensuring student success and equity. A lot of time we hear equality, but very soon with recent research, we are seeing that equality may not be the term that we want to use in
Annie,
the sector of education. Yes.
juste un moment. Um, Baronne, I was so deep listening to you, and I forgot that I should have been an interpreter, sort of, for
Okay.
people. So,
Yes.
if you can, perhaps if you'd allow me, I will recapitulate what you've said thus far.
Okay.
Pas tout détail, yo, just in case, si te gen moun ki la, ki ta bezwen yon
Okay.
traduction, okay?
Yes, of course. Yeah, take the floor.
Yes. So the way we will do it, perhaps after a few things that are important points, I will just explain it.
Okay.
Oui, juste un cas pour faciliter toute compréhension de tout le monde. Annie parle créole, oui, mais c'est créole. Les plus à l'aise dans l'anglais de ce fait, m'appelle en tant qu'interprète, pratiquement, nous, ça les expliquer nous, pour le système que pratiquement ici aux États-Unis, qui est différent que dans l'Europe, même en Haïti, tout. Nous-mêmes qui sommes en Haïti, monde qui était levé dans l'époque PAM, euh, les classes étaient différentes que Jean que Abdil qu'on y a parce que même le on a parlé de qui classe soit en Haïti, il est différent parce que bah il a changé. C'est de même que lié ici aux États-Unis, il y a différents types de l'école. Il y a l'école publique, je connais dans New York, il y a le PS avec un numéro là-dedans. Il y a private school, they call them independent school. Il y a l'école indépendante. Gen l'école charter school yo, et puis gen Montessori. Montessori, c'est un programme côté que étudiants yo plus libre pour yo ka exprimer yo jan que yo yé, hein. Ensuite, gen homeschooling qui monsieur qui a parler de ça ensemble avec nous. C'est catégorie de l'école, ça yo éduque un système éducationnel qui gagne ici aux États-Unis. Et l'école, gen kindergarten jusqu'à high school, qui ça y est, divisé en trois
Okay.
catégories. Il y a école élémentaire, elementary school, middle school, l'école du milieu, ensuite high school, l'école supérieure. Mais auparavant, c'est pas comme ça que le était. Même ici aux États-Unis, c'était gain elementary, l'école élémentaire qui était de kindergarten jusqu'à sixième grade. Ensuite, t'es gain, pas middle school, on oublie le terme, non, oui, euh,
Junior, junior high.
junior high et ensuite des high school. Et tout ça, c'est on sait de étapes que État fédéral coiffé et pour fédéralement il coiffé et par État et tout que coiffé. Go ahead, Annie, continue. Thank you.
Yes, and I will keep that in mind as well.
Sure, yes.
I wanted to introduce this diagram specifically after giving you the overview of what the system specifically here looks like, and also picturing the system that you may currently live in, correct? We're not doing an activity quite yet with this one, but I want you to digest this image. What we see in the middle is where the child sits in, right? The student sits in, and everything surrounding it, all the principles surrounding them, as we know, a school personnel is whom is what we think traditional of who serve a student, right? That's the teachers, that's the counselor, that's the principal. And we often don't think about everybody else, the police officers, the delegated, or the delegated child services people, the ministries for child services development and the families. And so just keeping that in mind, while we're not talking about every single person in here that serves the child, as we spoke earlier, we are specifically on two groups. Continue to really seeing that image on how the child is really centered into this picture itself.
Si nous regardons l'image ça qui sur écran, tout au milieu, juste au milieu, nous avons un petit monde, child, enfant. Mais tout à l'entourage, c'est des mondes qui, d'une façon ou d'une autre, affectent l'éducation. Que n'a parlé de l'église, parce que nous, à l'église, on a parlé de l'école, et personnel de l'école, institution côté que l'y aller, officier de police, tout ça, toutes c'est des entités d'une façon ou yon l'autre qui affecte l'éducation. Nous pas parler de tout après-midi, hein, mais nous pourrons seulement concentrer nous sur deux seuls.
Other things to keep in mind as I made this overview and just really mapping this out, we are not specifically going to talk about that one school is better than the other. Not saying that, charter public school is better than charter school or vice versa. This is not the point of the topic. It is. We're also not going to blame a specific group a specific group of providers of why some of these challenges may arise. Rather, I encourage you all to think of our time together this afternoon to strategize, to really utilize the tools, the things that we are going to experience together, to how to leverage your resources, how to go about it, to know when the next time you, as we are in summer break right now, the next time the school time opens up, that you feel equipped to ask a specific question, to seek out resources into the school community that your child is in, or somebody of a child that you know that you feel a bit more well versed to help them leverage the resources, navigate the network that is of the school facility specifically.
Comprendre but après-midi, hein, nous pas pointer du doigt qui système scolaire qui mieux qu'on l'autre ou bien qui genre de monde qui a bail service yo qui mieux qu'on l'autre. C'est pas ça du tout. Nous juste besoin ben, équiper nous assez pour nous gagner assez d'informations. Bon, quoique qu'on y a nous là été l'école fermée, mais l'heure l'école en ouvrir, nous avons assez d'informations pour nous juste balancer comment que si par exemple nous l'on salle de classe ou bien en tant que parent, en tant que quel que soit ça, nous te cahier pour un élève, comment te ka approcher et aborder ce sujet avec monde qui est en charge sous plan éducationnel, tout le monde ça.
Allow me to now take you back into your school days, shall we? Let's think back when you guys were in grade school and at any level that you may think of. What are some of your favorite memories from when you were in school? No matter the grade, no matter what city, what state, what country you were in, go ahead and put it in the chat or come off mute and share with us.
Nous ka kouni à la répondre, l'un de l'école, qui pi bon souvenir que nous te gagné, que c'était, quel ça pays côté nous te, que nous te en province, que nous te dans une grande ville, que nous, quel ça côté nous te, l'un de l'école songe, qui ça qui te pi, que nous te pi aimé. Mettez réponse nous dans chat room là, s'il vous plaît.
And although right now I cannot see the chat room, but I trust that Astrid
I
will read
will, I
out
will.
loud
Yes.
and share them with me.
Gen yon moun ki make récréation.
Great.
Yes.
Yes. Recreation.
Récréation tout.
Creation. Okay, so I love how we're all in the playground, right? You guys were all in the playground, socializing, being in community with one another. How could we forget recreation, right? Anything else?
Cooking
Cooking
class.
class. So I'm
Yes.
assuming that's more of high school,
Yes.
right? That's probably more of high school time, perhaps middle school, because now they're actually opening up cooking time for middle
Mhm.
school students. Yes. Cooking class. Anything else? We can get one more.
On lot réponse encore si nous capable.
Art.
Journée
Yes,
créative
field
sortie.
trip.
Yes.
Journée sauté.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, I was trying to translate it in my head. Yes, field trips. Those are all great responses, and I love to always get back into, more adult people to make you guys really remember what was it like when you guys were in high school.
Yes.
So let me categorize all of these that you guys have shared with me. Thank you so much for participating and sharing. So before we dive into some of those challenges, let's remember the good in school. I've always been a person that just adores school. I love learning. I love being in school. Like my parents would just say this all the time. They never had to tell me, "Hey, did you do your homework?" Or it was always the fact that I'm doing homework. And so some of the things that you guys just shared with us, recreation, cooking class, journée de sortie, and things of that nature, it's those are all ways that you're having a valuable learning opportunities. So category one, we can confirm and specifically say that personal growth and professional growth really happens in school. The professional growth and development, our students spend 8 hours plus a day in school itself. So a lot of those growth are happening physically and mentally and emotionally. Socialization, for those who said recreation, this is our first point of contact to networking, right? To having a support system.
Mhm.
Our students are not the only people making friends and just, having different community members. our parents are doing it as well. When our child come home, hey, I met Timmy, I know Sophie. You are also asking about Timmy and Sophie's parents. You are also wanting curious about what do they do or who are they, what kind of people they are. And then in turns, if lucky, we begin to expand into our support system. Our students get exposed to different career paths. You get exposed to career paths. So it's really a blend of community. And then lastly, it is actual practical experiences. Um, Experiences of diverse learning. Our students learn and see a lot that are happening in school. Diverse learning, diverse subject of content, skill development, and just community engagement. There's a lot happening around us. So while they're also bringing their piece of community from home, they're also carrying back and forth into the house as well. Hence where the collaboration begins, because it starts with the child being centered, and so many things are flying over where it really brings all of us to create those support system and sense of community. So thinking about, I feel like, especially more than recently, at our current age, people are saying that I feel like school was a scam. I didn't learn anything. I didn't do anything. And I just really want to encourage us as parents to recall, because look how you guys recall certain some of these things that you were in school. And I'm pretty sure a lot of your community members right now are probably people from school, are probably people you met from school and things of that nature. And so it really breaks my heart when I hear people saying that. I mean, people definitely are allowed to have their opinion, but before we dive into some of the challenges that we know, see visible and invisible into school, I would like to invite you all to just remember to remembering those goods and to internalize them as you progress into your lives and your children's lives.
Ok, brièvement, par contre, si nous tout réaliser excitement que Annie gen pendant la parler, et la juste parler de ça qui est bon dans l'école. On sait de nous apprendre, pour amener base, nous toutes, c'est l'école nous apprendre, grandir, développement, c'est l'école que nous apprendre. Ils viennent socialiser nous, c'est pendant l'école, ou à l'école, dire, oh, c'est Marie, c'est Joseph, c'est un tel. Le maman, ou elle rentre la caillou, et puis maman juste partager ça, et ce qu'on maman est tel. Et puis juste, on sait de, un partage qui fait le système de support, là, et puis c'est l'école que nous fait tout ça que, tant qu'adulte, que nous avons fait, la vie professionnelle, nous et autres, ils ont commencé l'école, là, parce que tout, networking, pour nous juste, juste connecter d'un à l'autre, ça fait, nous te pratique là, nous fait à l'école, ensuite, le nous arriver. Et pour diversité, tout qui est diversité, l'école nous apprend on sorte d'amalgame que lié, tout le monde vini avec, yo vini, yo prend, yo partager, et puis chaque monde yo rentre la caillou, yo partager avec ça que yo te joué de l'école là.
Yes. While we're not sitting into the different school system, thinking that all of these challenges, all of these, solutions, they're all sitting under all of those different school systems that we learned about earlier on. We are going to see some of the current challenges navigating the complexity of our modern education, no matter where that we are in our world or where you guys may be living. School faces various disparities that affects student learning. That is from teacher shortages, teachers burnout, mounting of pressure of standardized tests of students performing well and so forth. And fortunately for me and for you, I will spare you. We will not be talking about this at all because it's a whole plethora of conversation in of itself. And the ongoing challenges of pandemic that we know that's brought so many different underlying challenges. Again, we're not going to be honing it into that, specific when it comes to emotional learning of students that also affects being at home, and just like also affect how we see education equitably. I'll go ahead and let you translate before I go to the other side
Il y
because
a un paquet obstacles que l'école a fait ces derniers temps. Bon, nous tout cas connaît, pas gain assez professeurs pour étudier. Yo. Bon, nous va pas rentrer dans le détail, en trop de détails. Ensuite, nous avons une question de testing. Là, il y a juste passer tout mon examen, tout ça, on sait de nous cas d'accord, mais pas d'accord, sous test, tout examen, ça, est-ce que vous valable ou pas, nous pas prêter dans ça. Ensuite, est-ce que éducation, dans quelle que soit la ville côté on vivre là, est-ce que l'est équitable?
Mhm.
De toute façon, l'autre cause encore, ensuite, on sait de l'autre. Un paquet issu que nous gagnons, que les school system dans lui-même, système scolaire là, il a fait, so, c'est pas du tout quelque chose de facile. Et que nous pas, si pour nous pas parler de tout problème que school system n'a gagné, nous pas finir à soi.
Seeing these points may be familiar to some of you guys. Academic success, readiness, equity, social-emotional learning. However, there are some underlying issues that I feel that, in my opinion, I'm not seeing families are aware of it much in order to know how to best support their student and how to best partner with the school, with community members to really ensure student success. And so when we see academic success, we know it's usually most commonly affected by grades, assessment. It's Sophie ranged from an A, B, C student. Okay, those are fine. D, now I'm concerned. F, ooh, what's going on? But we're not always thinking about the critical thinking skills of said student. Are they having enjoyment for school? Are they generally learning? Are they learning whatever it is that's happening in school? Is it transferable? Are our students reading at grade level? Are our students knowing the difference between dozen and half dozen? And surprisingly, some may think, what are you talking about, Annie? Is this a joke? No, it's very surprising that sometimes students are graduating and moving on to the next level and not knowing the differences between a dozen or half dozen. And so academic success is not just as families know it to focus on.
I'm sorry. Would you say that a bit slower?
Okay,
They don't know the
I think it
difference
might be helpful to go point by point
half
as well.
dozen. No, just a half dozen. They don't know the difference between the half dozen and
In dozen, half a dozen and dozen.
mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
And so it's a bit beyond where, our students go into the classroom and just taking a test, taking assessment, and things of that nature. But are they actually sitting and having a deeper comprehension of their schoolwork and how they're progressing beyond grade level or at grade level? Then we seeing that, a lot of students are falling behind into reading.
Oui, le nou ap gade ki sa ki rentre lan edukasyon etudyan, nou pense gen suksè akademik, emosyonelman et sosyalman, eske la pa pren, eske li pre ou bien ekitabilite. C'est vrai, te kou lè nou an, par exemple, an pran Sophie ki l'ekol, nou di, oh, Sophie se li fe klasi se A, B, C, nou kontan bat bravo, C, loti, ou bien D, loti jan nap gonti apreyansyon de sa, epi la F, nou jis di ke son gros problem ke liye, men eske le nou ap konsidere Sophie an tan qu'étudiant, eske nou kompren ke sa, kelke sa la pren nan, la fe klas, la fe bon note pour lire, est-ce que son bagage que li comprenne et est-ce que ça le comprenne li ka partager avec l'autre? Parce que ça, c'est, faut que nous, jusqu'à son bagage qui est extrêmement important, parce que des fois, il y a des petits monde, y a passé classe, y a passé, pourtant, il y a des bagages de base, par exemple, qui différencie bien là, 11-12 ou 2012, ne pas connaître, mais pourtant, il a monté, il a monté, passé de classe en classe, il a promu dans l'autre classe.
This goes hand in hand with social emotional learning. Now we were just saying what are the goods in school? What is valuable when you are in school? What do you get? The socialization part, the growth and everything else, right? So social emotional learning, also known as SEL, is are the students able to communicate their needs or their feelings, right? It's to help our students to develop a resilient and interpersonal skills. For instance, Sophie got a D into a math that she thought she performed well. Is she going to the teacher and say, "Hey, can you give me feedback? How can I do better with this? How can I navigate this? Because I thought I performed well." How instead of going into the classroom, vandalizing the classroom, exchanges foul words with the teacher, exchanging mean comments, or just not showing up at all because Sophie is sad, Sophie is mad. So social emotional learning, also commonly, also you can say emotional intelligence. Those are all ways to prepare us to be better at addressing those challenges. It is a meaningful relationship to navigate schools and beyond school as well.
Nou ka kompren parti emosyonel lan ekstremement important parce que se li menm ki ka permet non seulement que nou gen des atou que étudiant ti moun nan gen, mais le même moment tout essayer de li rencontrer un obstacle, une situation, comment que li a campé devant, euh, comprendre et chercher une solution pour lui-même. Et ça, c'est un aspect qui est extrêmement important dans l'éducation de Timon.
Our next point is readiness. Hence, I shared her earlier how it really breaks my heart when people are saying, like, I didn't learn anything in high school. Or in school or grade school in general. Readiness is really to prepare our students for our future challenges. Again, the same thing that goes with ASEL for their higher education and career. It is ensuring the possession of necessary skills and knowledge for the next steps. And not just like, are they ready to go to college? Because I am a firm believer college could not be for anybody. But the readiness goes with the same, like, are they able to articulate their needs in a very emotionally intelligent manner? Are they able to go back to the same example of saying going to a Dunkin's and say, hey, can I have half a dozen donut? And understanding that they'll be getting six donuts because this example actually made the news where a person just was going arguing back and forth with the representative as a Dunkin saying, hey, I asked for half a dozen. Why don't I have 12? So again, those might sound like silly examples, but those are some of the underlying challenges that we may not see. We know that school is preparing us for that, but the underlying challenges is that students might be performing lower than they should.
Bon question de préparation pour Timon yo. Est-ce que, par exemple, Timon yo, y ap monté, y ap traversé l'école? I have a question too. I'm gonna say just briefly, but I do have a question on that. Pourtant que on réponse, on exemple qui est très simple. Par exemple, un petit monde qui allait la donut, donc on a demandé half a dozen. Pourtant, moi, on sorti, mais pas qu'on est quantitativement, qui ça moitié d'un douzaine li, ou bien qui quantité yon douzaine li. Pourtant, c'est des petits monde qui peut-être l'école, y a pas, tel que je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, y a monté classe, y a traversé, mais pourtant, compréhension de concept yo pas gagne. Ifame, Annie,
Yes.
est-ce que ça gon bagay a ouais à ti moun nan li même, ou bien moun qui a pe bali éducation, que c'est la caille, que c'est l'école.
That is a great question. We are going to talk about the tools or the ways in which to address this a little bit, but I mean, I'm also happy to answer this in short. Not necessarily. So, not necessarily in terms of like we're saying like this is the child's fault or this is the educator provider's fault. I think it could be everybody included altogether.
Mhm,
But the first point I can say, maybe the child is missing a support that they're not getting,
mhm,
right? So if they're not understanding the difference between half a dozen or a dozen, or they just they don't comprehend a text, right? Reading. One thing I always say, there's a difference between speaking English and comprehending English. You
mhm.
know, when you don't have that comprehension, so much can be lost in translations, whether you were born American or not, right? And so later on, we'll be talking about the accommodation that students may need in order to really be able to help them education wise. So what are tools that can be put in place to help them study better, learn more, and do things better? And sometimes, as we see the different types of schools are not equitable. Resources that you may find in one school may not be the case for the other. Hence,
Mhm.
where when parents are seeing caregivers or parents are seeing this, unfortunately, it doesn't sound fair, but this is where you work overtime and say, hey, my child is actually not being challenged in class. My not being challenged in class, or they're not learning anything. In some cases, it is very much true. Maybe it's an unqualified teacher. Maybe it's by unqualified, I mean a teacher that may not have their license, or that may just or very new to the profession, or just not teaching the students well. So the issue can be lying anywhere, but when we notice this, when we see this, I think for me, I think in a problem solving way a lot, in a tool-based way a lot. And so what are some strategies and help in need that we can bring in to actually get the student where it needs to be so they don't just multi-class. So we can actually just like give them the necessary tools that while they're going into the next grade, they're getting the help they need and then they're actually learning at grade level and above. Did that answer the question a little bit?
Yes, ma pensée tout équitabilité. Par exemple, ici aux États-Unis, comme c'est là m'a évolué, d'après ça, on comprend, yo monte ti moun nan classe suivant l'âge li. Que li prêt ou pas. À moins que gen let's call it a setback that is very crucial, you kembe ti moun nan. Sinon, moi, c'est moi bay que moi konwè, ti moun y a pour, comprendre, ti moun la pou monte, ki l'âge li? Gen tel âge, j'étais là, ok, li bon pour six grade, li bon pour te bay, quoique, peut-être ti moun sa pas prêt vraiment pour le talent l'autre classe, mais puisque c'est l'âge li, yo juste monté li. Amen, c'est ou même qui dans le système, non, peut-être, ou, amen, ou ka plus, est-ce que c'est vrai ou pas, mais observation, moi, c'est ça que lié à plusieurs reprises.
Unfortunately, that is true, especially after the challenges I mentioned with the pandemic. Unfortunately, that was
Mm.
true,
OK.
especially with
Mhm.
big cities like New York and even Boston as well, because some of those are probably some of the education I'm most familiar with. That is unfortunately truth, but it's not always the same in different school systems.
Mhm.
I'm currently working at an independent school that is actually a gap year. In our community, and even just in general, when people are saying, "Hey, we want to reclass you, or you should take a gap year," people are seeing this as a bad thing, rather of seeing it as a good thing to help students prepare. And you will not see that in public schools. There's so many challenges, so many underlying things that may be going on that the best thing to do is to move on the child to the next grade. And even if they do have an accommodation, which is as we'll talk about slightly regarding an IEP or 504 or any other kind of accommodation that they may need, the goal, unfortunately, in public school is to go on and move the child to the next best thing. And sometimes, even they need the graduation rate, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so sometimes afterwards, if that child is just really struggling, especially when MCAS was into play, again, that's another very complicated topic that they had canceled MCAS. They spend sometimes after school, even after graduating up until December, they try to just give them certain classes online to continue on to see if they'll be able to be a proper citizen. And that experience, I'm actually speaking specifically, is at a public school that I worked at. So the short answer and not even providing with a solution is that it is commonly true. It is true because that's how the system of the public sector itself is created to be. And I think there's too many students, too many underlying challenges such as staff shortage or qualifying staff or just like additional resources and tool that needs to be in place to help said child.
Okay. Right.
And lastly, our points, which I think was just going into what myself and Astrid was speaking about, is equity in education, which means being able to provide students with the access, the resources, the opportunities to feed their needs wherever they're at, right? Ensuring they are learning at an achievable manner to reach their potential, no matter their background, which is what basically you were just talking about. Like, hey, my observation is that in public school, it really doesn't matter. It's about their age, it's about where they're at. They can't stay any longer. We need to push them along. However, equity in education is unfortunately, if done right in a perfect world, it shouldn't be that way. Whatever resources, whatever help or need that child needs, we should be able to meet them there until they're ready to go on. Or, for instance, if you have a gifted child, knowing how to equip them, maybe they're a math whiz or maybe they're just really great in music, like they just read and see music differently. How are we able as a team, as a community, both within the school and from home, to equip them better to just really put them where the student needs to be at, no matter their background or where they are coming from.
OK. Nous avons parlé de équité dans ce système là parce que clairement c'est pas ça que bon, nous va pas rentrer dans moi parce que n'est pas ça et alors que but l'école c'est juste pour assurer que tout le monde yo lon environnement kote que yo ka apprendre et que yo ka développer tout ça toute potentialité qui gen lan yo même, quel que soit côté yo sorti, quel que soit dans niveau côté yo ye, but l'école c'est juste développer ça.
All right. Now that we spoke about some of these underlying issues, again, those are some of a few that I have taken set apart to just be part of our conversation today. I want you all to pay attention to some of these three categories, which again will be part of our discussion to for us to go home with today. These three categories are accommodation provided to your child, resources or resources equity. I put this into asteroids again because again that varies depending on your environment, and partnership. Astrid, you were able to get into this a little bit earlier with me. So a huge component of just like ensuring our student success with readiness, academic success, and just all the other topics that we were able to talk about earlier is knowing the kind of services that they are in need of to thrive. Right. So a lot of you guys may be familiar with, if you are in the United States, individualized education program, also known as IEPs, and 504, which is a section of rehabilitation of the Act of 1973, where students cannot be discriminated for a service that they may need, given any disabilities that they may have, visible or not. Again, accommodation services is a topic that's also fragile. Well, some people feel like it's just another push out method, and some people may feel like it can be a great tool, but not done right. So, as parents, as caregivers, when we see those underlying issues with our students' academic success, with their readiness, with the resources that they may need, once you are provided with these resources, I really encourage you, invite you to sit with this, right? And if for any reasons you just do not understand what is being provided with these services, asking a person of knowledge to be able to sit with you into ensuring that your child is actually getting those accommodation is progressing, and making sure that their progress is being mapped and visibly seen in order for them to take the next step or to take the next stage.
Nous connaissons à prêter attention à trois aspects de l'éducation timoun. Il y a accommodation, ressources et équité et partnership. Accommodation, c'est une série de qui académiquement, qui ça qui en place, qui service que nous avons pour timoun yo qui l'école pour qu'à assurer succès yo. Gen se de programme IEP ou bien section 4, c'est des sections qui là pour qui t'a supposé bailler un bon service à quel que soit tout le monde qui sans discrimination. Mais est-ce que c'est ça que, quel que soit le genre de timoun nan y a, c'est ça qui t'a supposé, ça c'est juste des accommodations que a bail, par exemple, c'est des timoun on dit qui handicapé, par exemple. Tout ça, c'est c'est accommoder ti moun yo pour ka succès, pour ka gen succès dans quel que soit genre que physiquement ou autre que.
Resources to me is the ability to be involved in asking a lot of questions on what your needs are. And resources equity, depending on where you are at, some schools do unfortunately has a lot more resources than others, or just find it a little bit more easier. So it's the ability to just ask, what is it that you need? Where are they coming from? How are the school bringing in those resources? And where can you find them to best equip your child? And for instance, as I was speaking earlier, say your child is really gifted, what in music, what programs can they have now to continue to enhance their ability, to continue to help them improve and grow and do great at a very young age, so you can have the next Beethoven in your family. If your child is a very great, again, a math whiz, what are programs, what do the school has in place? And if they don't have something in place, what resources do they have that is entitled to school that they can start at a very early age? Too often we see that our students are great at something or doing something very great. We just relying on school and thinking that, oh yeah, the school got it. The school will give them whatever it needs to do, or they can stay after school, but not really honing in to see, okay, what program can challenge the student, what program can really shift them out of their comfort zone, and what resources shift them out of the comfort zone to continue ensuring that they're growing and then that they're producing success in said behavior.
Ressources, qu'est-ce que ça ressources? C'est des disponibilités qu'il a pour, quelle que soit l'école anti-mounant, pour qu'à non seulement détecter talent anti-mounant et puis rester concentré sur lui et aider anti-mounant à développer talent ça. Est-ce que lui accessible à toute l'école? C'est pas ça que lié, mais une fois de plus, ça va dépendre de l'école, là, de position de l'école, là, de environnement tout, parce que j'essaie de tout le monde que si on a l'environnement, il y a des ressources yo qui là disponibles pour aider yo, qu'à non seulement développer et même pousser yo, tant que yo pas rester dans la zone côté que yo à l'aise in their comfort zone, they can, yo ka aller au-delà de eux, même pour qu'à explorer et développer tout talent qui peut-être était latent dans mon eux-même avec ressources yo ka vinn peut-être bon, un nouveau Beethoven, un nouveau génie, mais c'est juste ressources pour la qui peut disponible à ça.
Lastly, my favorite, collaboration, partnership. It is the partnership, as I know we're concentrating, is between the families, the educator providers in the communities in school, but thinking about the many entities that makes up of the school, the nonprofit organization, the independent contractors, those recruiters, they are all there to aiming to, they are all there to aim to support students and to improve the school environment. Being based in Boston, I came with providing some examples. Stepping Stone, which is a middle school serving organization that helps students transfer into different school system that is into an area. So if your child is doing Stepping Stone and they may be in public school, and then you show interest and say, hey, I think I might want to give independent school a try. I think I might give Montessori school a try. And we know some of these schools you do have to pay for, unlike public schools. But one thing I always am ensure parents, because I'm a testament of that. There's always scholarship. There's always free money to be given here in the States when it comes to the topic of education. I guarantee it. I know the saying is that there's nothing free in America, but I'm a living testament to say like there is money to be given when it's come to education. Bottom line is an education service for students seeking to go to higher education, right? So when your students is getting ready to apply to college and universities or a trade school of their interest, bottom line is also there. It's also a scholarship. It's also there to help your child step by step into the to applying to higher education, especially if you're somebody who has not had the experience here in the state. Prep for Prep does the same thing. BAM, which is Becoming a Man. It's a mentorship program for young men of color. Young Queens Rising, Love Your Magic are all organizations that serves girls specifically with self development and identity. And both of these organizations are organizations that I've worked with, and I always go back to, as much as I am a passionate advocate for education in general, I'm more importantly passionate about women empowerment and girls education. And specifically, given my background in Haiti, when I came in here, I was in an all girls school, and coming here being shocked and having to go to school in a co-ed. Those organizations, those nonprofit, those supporting programs, anytime you hear your child talk about it in school, don't just wave it, just to say you can go after school. Really hone in, really get curious to see, oh, what is this program? What is the partnership? And how can I collaborate with them as well as the family to ensure that you're getting the resources out of it, the need out of it to ensure the success of your child.
OK. Non, pour une partie qui est très importante que là, bon, une question que j'ai demandé, Annie, if you can put down the name of this organization, I was going to ask you for that as well. Ça,
Yes.
les collaboration, partnership, the name of, you have Stepping Stone, Prep for Love Your Magic. M'écris de toi, but m'pa gen yo. Si te ka écrit dans le chat room nan, non organisation ça yo.
Okay, I'm so sorry. This just
Yes.
disappeared.
Now, partnership son ba ki très, très important kote ke kolaborasyon ke nou gen avek konse de organizasyon ke animasyone pou nou menm ke nou ka just gen yo. When you have the moment, Annie, nou ka ekri yo.
Okay.
Par exemple, mwen menm ka di, I don't know, Annie, if you know about A Better Chance, ABC, I know it's all over the States. A
Yes.
Better Chance. My children, we were part of the ABC program and they went to independent school, great program. So you
Yeah.
can add ABC as one of them. And it's just, c'est de partnership. Quand yo di que États-Unis, yo pa bay rien gratis. Pourtant, Annie, son témoignage de, oui, quand il s'agit d'éducation, gain l'argent qui est disponible, c'est seulement juste demander. mande, fè recherche, ale l'organizasyon kote ke yo gen fon yo la disponible, juste nap chèche epi nap jwen yo. Ok, but nou gen peret kap ekri nou yo
Okay.
pou nou
I
pou.
also wanted to let you all know I will be sharing the presentation as well. It'll be available to you all. As I know at the end as well, I did link some resources for you all.
Mhm.
So I'm more than happy to share those resources and just also share some of the things that I'm aware of too.
Informasyon yo, Ani a partaje ansama avek nou, avek tout lien ki atache a yo, même tout ressources yo, yon ap gen yo apre pou nou ka utilize a bon volo an nou. Ok?
Tout moun pa pe, nou pa perdi anyen de sa map di.
Merci, Ani.
All right, let's get into a little bit of a check-in. Again, it wouldn't be me if I was not able to do a little bit of a quiz with my inner teacher within myself. So in the chat, true or false? Easy, right? Especially
Mhm.
checking if you're paying attention. When thinking of these three categories, we're thinking about accommodation, resources, and partnership for your child. You should think about what is best for you, what is best for your future, or what is best for your child needs. Which of the three you should be thinking about? So in the
Men,
chat,
non, repon vre ou fo, le na pense a 3 kriter sa, akomodasyon, ressources et partnership, ki sa nou pense ki ta suppose ge plus vale pou nou? Sa ki bon pou nou menm an tanke paran? Sa ki bon pou futur nou ou bien sa ki bon pou ti moun nou? 1, 2, 3. 1, c'est sa ki bon pou nou. 2, sa ki bon pour futur pa nou. Et 3, ki sa ki bon pour besoin ti moun yo. Mettez question nou, mettez réponse yo plutôt, n'a répondre 1, 2, 3.
okay, I see all. Three, three. Beautiful. Let's get a
Répondre,
couple more.
répondre. OK.
I'm seeing quite a few people, and I know everybody's paying attention. Amazing. We see a couple of threes. Okay. A couple
N'a
more.
pris deux l'autre réponse encore.
Yes.
3. Yon l'autre encore et puis pour nous continuer.
Yes.
3. All
Amazing.
right.
Threes. All right. The threes have it. I did see somebody say all. Do we want to elaborate a little bit more as to why you're saying all? You can feel free to come up mute and do it now or towards the end and share with us why you might think all of them might be correct.
Lee 7h30, let's continue and then
Okay.
the person will do it after.
Okay.
Yes.
Sounds good. All righty. Thank you for engaging with that. And
Mhm.
so let's talk a little bit about our roles into as a community, as people involving to ensuring our children's success, right? So a lot of it, personally to me, that I'm realizing is that we know the parents are working. We know the parents are, are visible, are seen. But personally, for me as an educator, with the experiences that I have a little bit so far, is that we want your involvement and engagement. In the way that is seen to ensure is we know that you are aware and seeing that there are school activities, there are parents conferences and so forth and so on, but engaging into the school activities, really coming into those parents conferences with questions, with sharing advice, and just like collaboration is really what I would like you all to sit in this next slide, right? Oh, I'll give you a moment to get into it.
C'est vrai que là, vivre ici en Amérique du Nord, nous avons pile activité qu'une café, mais Annie a juste suggéré à nous-mêmes comment pour nous qu'à engager nos présence, nous, l'éducation, en tant que parents, le que gagne n'importe activité qui gagne l'école, là, au moins pour on juste penser à ça, ou pas, si nous à l'école, mais si ou juste prendre ou juste la gueule l'école là, et puis ou même ou gen l'autre activité ou à faire, ça veut dire que ou pas engagé, ça pas intéressant. C'est l'important ça qu'on a que nous pour aller concentrer nous sur lui.
You've given us ownership already. It's a shared ownership. We know that you've had research, you saw a school and you dropped off or your child to the school. But the shared ownership is what creates a community responsibility towards your child, right? So being involved into knowing that, hey, I'm sharing this child with you, but the shared ownership comes with a communication. Effective communication between all parties involved with the students. It's what's going to create a transparent dialogue, encouraging collaboration to address concern promptly. So when we know about something promptly, when you see a behavior at home, when we see a behavior in school, and we come together and talk about it, and making sure that, hey, I'm noticing this and let's address this, is really what's going to improve our students' success. And then that really, it comes with a trust, right? If I'm comfortable, if you're comfortable coming to me, oh, I probably should pause.
Exact. Nous n'a parlé de ti moun yo. Ti moun, si que nous fait l'école la confiance, son professeur confiance pour, et son tâche qui très sensible et important dans la vie de ti moun nan. Si que nous ka faire confiance, faut que nous ka comprendre tout que n'a fait mon professeur sa confiance et vice versa. D'autant plus que le moment que nous t'a noté, on ti bagay qui va faire trois job, c'est exactement le moment ça pour que nous adresser à professeur et vice versa pour que si une solution bien vite qui pour faire, qui pour joindre, nous joignons et puis pour ça, pour ti blessure, ça pas venir tourner en malin, sort of.
And as mentioned, trust really brings everybody comfortable, and we're really holding the students benefit at our interest. And that way we are able to share ideas, feedback, and ultimately how to best benefit the child. And then lastly, is engaging and involvement. As I mentioned, we know you are aware, we know you are present, we know that, parents are also have a lot to do, but your engagement, being involved with, what's going on with your child's community, is really what increase the students' investment. It's really what's fostering like their supportive learning, because as we know, the student is looking at the village. They're looking at everybody who is involved within them. And that also makes them feel like they're supported, and they are able to come to any and everybody in their village to be able to ask for their needs as well. So your involvement is transferable to your student to also vocalize what it is that they're struggling with, what it is that they are in need of.
Et si nous ka juste récapituler ça en année dian, là que nous engagé l'éducation ti moun qui gen ti moun te l'école yo connaît depuis que yo connaît un parent là, même si professeur a ta gen tendance, oh même l'école là, mais on connaît depuis parents là, li présent dans tout bagay, y a peut-être font-ils stopper pour yo considérer, yo pas juste passer ti moun nan comme ça, oh, c'est ti moun yo juste lagué là, ban nous mais on connaît que c'est un ti moun que parents gen souci pour éducation li, et yo même tout y a pas assuré yo que là ensemble avec parents pour côte à côte pour yo marcher pour succès ti moun nan.
The same way you have your role, we know that we have our role as well. And fun fact, this is an active picture of myself in the middle of my teaching class. It's an empowerment class for some young women that I was able to teach this past fall. We have the role to a first point of contact in our education school, or just in general in education, is relationship building, right? Relationship building with you, with the student, with the different educators, providers into a school facilities, is what creates a well-rounded education experience. So on this next slide, you will see that the points that you have also mirrors the points that we have as for our roles.
Ok, c'est nous qu'à comprendre que, comment dit, on a dit, so bay là, c'est nous recevoir. Si m'ka juste, on a pu se récapituler parce que I'm mindful of the time, it's 7:36 and we must
Yes, I see that.
end. Ça que nous bay là, c'est lui que nous recevoir. Alors, ce que tu trouves que c'est que parler de confiance pour faire une possibilité pour résoudre quel que soit issue qui t'est qu'à présenter avec on sait tout ça qui gagne, c'est juste un effort collaboratif des deux côtés pour avancement et succès de quel que soit étudiant.
I was just gonna go through it. As we see, trust is the same thing that we were talking about, advice from y'all's roles to us as well. Updating the families is very crucial. I know more often than time when parents are getting a call or an email at home, it's usually for something bad. But also to I myself encourage families into picking up my call because I may have something brilliant to share with you all as well. For instance, I remember my past French class this year, I made a homework assignment assignment where parents were involved with their children to do this French homework assignment. And granted, like, it is the children that is learning this language, but that could also develop a curious mind into the parent. Maybe they want to learn French as well. So it was a collaborative way for parents to be updated into the children's learning, for me to tell a family about, like, hey, there's a new strategy that your child invited into a classroom, and then hopefully next year I'm able to actually have parents into my class to just see what the learning environment is like. So updating all around just keeps each other into keep each other informed into, and as well as the learning journey of our children. We are problem solvers, and so we're always going to be thinking that way, and that's exactly what helps us address those challenging onto a student's growth and academic performance. And lastly, as I was mentioning earlier, is the tools. We are tool bags. We have a lot of tools for different ways, different resources, and we are one questioner to asking a teacher, hey, what is happening into the school? What can I do because so and so is just not they're just not performing well, they're not improving. So what tools can we all work together, bring our knowledge together, and making sure that they're aligned? Again, all goes back to ensuring our students' success.
Annie, pa kon combien more slides ko genye?
There's one more.
Okay, that's cool. Because nou ta reme kite au moins 20 minutes parce que nou si yo gen pa ket parents ki gen kesyon ki
Okay,
ta me pose pou nou te ka
of
allez.
course.
So just go ahead. Let's take the next slide.
Okay.
Yes.
And the last slide is really a call to action, and like the way that really invite you all to think about what the village involves, when it comes to making sure that your students is getting all the resources it needs. And for this last slide, I didn't want to combobulate you, so I just really have these three points, right? To strengthen a collaborative educational environment is to engage, and parents and everybody involved in that image that we saw earlier must come together to communicate, right? By encouraging an open dialogue and share the goals that we have, or specifically the goal of that child, and to communicating your needs and wish is really what makes what makes the success of that child together, of that student, excuse me. Together, the first step of ensuring student success is by identifying the needs for them to thrive. And lastly, we hear this all the time, there is no I in team. And so therefore, to wrap it all together, from seeing the different types of school, from knowing the resources out there, from seeing the challenges that we encounter that may see in our faces, but that may not be too obvious to us, is that no school system is perfect in reality. Okay. The same way that I know Astrid had asked about, like, what she's observed in a public school, there's a lot of underlying issues that also occurs into these different type of schools. However, with the way we strategize as a community, with you asking the necessary questions, with you communicating your needs and your wishes, it will help us all bring a structured learning environment and knowing how to better strategize on behalf of our students.
Ok, ça c'est dernière slide là que Annie a présenté à nous-mêmes. That's no, juste engagement, engagement. Nous pas qu'à nous n'a continuellement dit ça parce que depuis que nous là en tout premier lieu, là que nous connaissons le cadre et curriculum nan ban non, mais là que nous connaissons, nous poser questions. Si on baga pas fin trop clair, communiquer ça avec les professeurs, même avec administrateurs yo, ou du moins s'il le faut aller juste dans school district là, if juste pour gen, avec un dialogue qui est très ouvert, communiquer ça que nous attendons de ti moun nan, qui côté que nous ouais. C'est vrai, il y a des disparités dans l'éducation ici, tout dépend de l'école, là, mais pas gen, pour dire, on bon l'école, soit école publique yo, comparativement, disons, à école indépendante, yo pi pas bon que l'autre, mais c'est pas vrai, c'est juste bon, mte ka di lon sens ki fe ke nou targetan dans quoi que l'école indépendante yo puis bon c'est parce que tout simplement des engagement que parents communication que ou gen parce que son bagay que yo vraiment très fort dans ça dans l'école privée yo côté parents yo engagé peut-être l'argent yo en jeu yo engagé c'est ça fait si nous même dans quelle que soit la situation que nous dans quelle soit l'école si nous nous engagé ce serait la même chose. Merci Annie. Une fois de plus, moi, je serais enthousiasme, moi, j'aimerais que, nous souhaitons que t'es professeur petit, moi, si nous avons l'école toujours, I'd like to have you there. Nous connaissons assez moment pour nous poser questions, quelle que soit la question que nous gagnons. C'est le moment pour nous poser créole, anglais, français, bon, peut-être pas allemand ou bien l'autre langue, mais l'autre langue, c'est confondre. Mettez-nous à l'aise, quelle que soit la question que nous posons. Si nous avons une proposition, que ça laisser le moment pour nous faire ça qu'on y a. Nous signaler ça pas avec nous, ou du moins mettez checker un emoji et map là pour Annie, pour poser la question et monsieur que Annie après pour qu'elle répondre à question.
Yes. Thank you all so much again for your time. Thank you for allowing me to present this. Like I said, I'm very passionate about education, education
Ouais.
equity. And so I am still very early into my career. So I'm still doing a lot of research and still learning a lot. But this is something I'm genuinely passionate about to really help our communities, especially Haitians, as we already value education, that there's so many resources out there for us to enjoy and to really participate in. So I'm happy to answer any other questions, and also feel free to reach out to me as well. Yes.
I don't, do I see any hand?
Yes, Perret has her hand up.
Okay, Perry, go ahead.
Oui, oui, merci Annie, merci Astrid. Well done. Nous dit que je dis là, c'est éducation, dans la période ça, nous voulons dire, dans la période ça, nous vivons là, c'est période côté, il y a un peu de graduation, il y a couronné et fortimonio, donc nous trouvons que je dis là, c'est un bon moment pour te venir ça avec conversation ça pour nous. Présentation pour nous être capable de nous toute information. Nous en pile information. Donc, mais ça me t'a voulu demander dans la question parce que nous pas vraiment pile d'arrêter pour si l'autre monde a une question, moi j'ai l'autre monde qui est enlevé. Au premier commentaire m'a fait, c'est que nous parler de dans l'école Haïti, je ne connais pas toute l'école Haïti. Moi, dans l'école, moi, l'école primaire, nous t'avons fait cooking, nous t'avons fait broderie, nous t'avons fait un série de petits, ça. Donc, c'est pas vraiment dans high school, il va t'en arriver bien loin comme ça pour te faire. Et puis ensuite, moi, je voulais dire que, comme si, à cause de la barrière de langage qui vient, parents, en pile là de par trop impliqué à poser des questions bien à la réunion des parents etc. parce que les viennent faire yo senti embarrassé. Est-ce que y a un service comme ça que capable et encourager des conseils qu'on capable bailler parents qui peuvent passer avec ça yo. Et en plus de ça, c'est complexité qui vient la caille nous étant que haïtien ne pas petit ne pas un problème. Donc même le Timonio tombé en bas pour un programme haïtien, donc parfois il y a un pile défi devant ça t'a supposé service t'a supposé tout le monde t'a supposé joindre ensemble avec ça que l'école a voulu offrir. Donc comme si parents toujours passer c'est les beaux il y a essayé les beaux petits etc. Donc dans des opinions sur ça.
Yeah. Rich question, first of all, like rich question. And again, I just want to go back to my title. It was a very ambitious title. So there was a lot of things that, I could not sit in, like even my presentation went over. But firstly, thank you for your question so much. And I do want to say educators, we are not to have preferences, but we love the foreign parents 10 times better, right? Because there are listeners and there are people who also apply the strategies that the teachers more often tells the families. And so if you are concerned with the language barriers, just like, not understanding, because especially when it comes to providing accommodation services with IEPs and 504s, these documents are long for no reason. And so people who are usually present sometimes in these meetings are sometimes even attorneys, the school representative, the teacher, like so many people are in these meetings and so many things are being thrown at you. You can also slow that down to say, I need to have a full understanding of like how these resources are giving to me and how they're actually being implemented. And so resources that are available if you are very concerned about the language barriers is requesting a translator. Sometimes that's it's part of the service as well. So requesting a translator, never be afraid to say, hey, I need somebody who speaks Haitian Creole. I need somebody who speaks French to help me understand this better. So first and foremost, like, keep being conscious of time is the best resources that you can ask for, and having asking time to sit with these documents. And yes, IEPs and 504s is a very sensitive conversation where sometimes people of color, people of our communities feel like, it is being labeled, or we are not actually getting into the root of the things, especially when it comes to mental health services, or when it comes to not an invisible disability, right? And so that is something that I just really encourage parents to be an open-minded about, because people from other backgrounds are actually taking advantage of these resources. Okay, they're taking advantage because when you have resources like that, sometimes extra time is an accommodation that students need. And your child could benefit from an extra time, right? They could benefit from an extra time to take MCAS. Granted, it's no longer into play, but even in the future, for instance, I know a lot of us like our child to be doctors, engineer, when they're going for their licenses, and if that was a service that was provided to them at their young age, they can always transfer those services later on. So instead of thinking that, my child's being labeled, my child is being thinking like, they're sought, or they don't know anything, rather it's taking advantage of into what these resources are giving to your child. And a lot of times it's extra time, it is processing time, it is, really being able to sit with the material and thinking of like the positive that comes out of it rather than the negative, because a lot of other cultures are actually taking advantage of these resources and seeing it as a benefit for them. So it's a sensitive conversation all around, to be honest. Thank you so much for your question again. I hope that was helpful and helpful to other people.
Si mwen ka
Yeah.
ajoute yon nan Saudi Ani, yon nan job ke mwen fè se interprète créole et français, et m fèt pou plusieurs entités, parmi lesquelles l'école. Sa mwen realize, lè ke yo genye lan debu, mwen ap vive an Georgia, l'école komanse an août, an septembre, yo toujou fè réunion kote yo, mette tout pa yon vini involve yo pou yo ka vini pale de, tout problem, EIP 504 and so forth. Le gen réunion sa yo, m kon ale, yo jist kon di, le plus souvent de l'après-midi, pour 3 heures de temps. Mwen ale, pas jamais aucun parent présenté. Des fois, te gon côté m'habité Clarkson, te gen on grande agglomération francophone, I mean, moun qui sorti en Afrique. You know de Kavini, mais rarement. Alors que yo kon di n'importe 8 ou 9 interprètes vin là présent pour yo. Que créole, que pour français. Mais yo pas vini vraiment. Pour des raisons que peut-être yo peur, yo pas contre droit, yo peut-être. Par contre, si par exemple, il y a un à un, nous qu'on a fait, yo qu'on a besoin d'interprète, le que a discuté quel que ça soit pour petit moun nan, là yo présent. Et des fois, songe à plusieurs reprises, gen des petits moun que moi gen, que me connais, que moi-même en tant que, à tout tabou que me en tant qu'haïtienne, que ti moun sa, li pa ka apprendre l'école parce que li en relève que li limité dans l'éducation. Pourtant, yo prêt pour yo bay ti moun sa toute sa culture, tout. Gen un jeune garçon qui était une victime là, en tremblement de terre 2010 là, qui est entré ici, li pas ka articuler et puis li te gen l'autre problème que pas même ka manger, mais c'est d'autres ti moun normal que te avant en tremblement de terre là. L'el vini, li juste chaque année, particulièrement, de toujours l'ensemble avec lui, on sait de bagages qui a pour free li, de tablettes pour parce que mais pas qu'à travailler encore, grand paquet l'argent qui investi dans ti moun ça. Finalement, quand elle était again, il était en classe normale, que m'pas penser qu'il était OK pour te ka évoluer après ti moun yo, mais là, pour arriver dans graduate high school, yo te même à essayer concentrer pour te ka jeune travail et à chaque étape ça yo toujours assuré que bon interprète bon monde qui pour là tout besoin li que là pour servir sauf juste pour renchérir ça dire gain paquet possibilité opportunité qui gagne c'est seulement si nous soit nous pas connaît ou bien nous peut demander yo mais yo là disponible à nous-mêmes
And Mary, I see you, but and on check that as well. we are actually breaking our backs as educators to
Mhm.
now making the phone calls, to now showing up at the house, right? But then
Mhm.
again, what we see into that, we are in turns becoming teachers who are experiencing burnout. And
Mhm.
we're also trying to respect different families' practices. And so there's so many, there's how far that we need to go for you guys, and especially what you were saying, it's about knowing your knowing your right, knowing that those are services and things that you should be able to feel comfortable to access at any time.
Ok. Marie-Ange Prosper, ensuite après Marie-Ange, après Marie-Josée Lucien.
Bonsoir, merci. Et nous voulons dire un grand merci à notre sœur Annie qui prend du temps pour expliquer nous parce que me senti dans une graduation dans l'église, moi fait qu'attendait que gon ti moun qui pas même penser le te kal dans collège, tandis que yo bali $30,000. M'a demandé organisation ça yo et comme Annie dit la partager lien yo avec nous. Moi songe époque ti moun pa mè dans high school avant que m'te joindre quelque chose, moi t'es obligé de mettre l'argent dehors, toute organisation qui t'a pris l'eau pour aider au chercher aide petit moun yo, eh bien yo te faut payer des milliers de dollars.
Wow.
Comme des dépenses à fait de $4,000 comme
Mhm.
ça. So m'a demandé côté organisation ça a été et réellement c'est un bel bon travail que l'a fait là pour partager le lien avec nous. Nous capables sérieux pour nous partager avec d'autres parents qui ont le besoin pour Timouni aussi. Merci beaucoup pour cette présentation.
Merci
Merci
beaucoup,
Marie-Ange.
j'apprécie beaucoup. I do want to say, I think earlier on in the early 2000s, at least around the time that I moved, those resources in reality were limited, right? They were limited. Schools just really wanted everything to be considered into their school, so they were limited. I do believe, like, as when we're entering well, I think, I guess, I don't want to make this political, but, like, around Obama's second term, and, like, going on as we progress in
Mhm.
education, a lot more of these organizations became
Ouais.
permanent, became more present. So it's a matter, unfortunately, it's a matter of, like, you have to know, because we are so handicapped with the whole idea that nothing is free in America, that we didn't know elsewhere.
Mhm.
Exactly how
Mhm.
Astrid, you were speaking, we didn't know certain rights that we have or certain things that
Mhm.
we're asking. I am saddened every time I hear that a parent says, "M'te paye l'argent, m'te supposé payer l'argent," because to make my testimony short, when I moved here, my parents did not move here with me, so I had to live with families. And who am I to ask my aunt and uncle to pay for my high education in college, right? To pay for my master's degree. But one thing I always encourage students and families, like, this is the most expensive thing that you could ever own. And that
Mhm.
is your knowledge. Si ou ka travail, travail. Si c'est un gift pour gain pour en education, do it. If you are good at sport, do it and continue to progress into that enrichment. And that's how a lot of these resources, my aunt, become permanent to you. You
Mhm.
are gifted into so and so, then you begin to do it. You read a lot, you know how to read, you're a good writer. The teachers, again, we wear various hats, we have various tools, so we will tell you about these. The school counselors, a lot of these nonprofit organizations are directly tied to the school. In your school districts as well, going to the website, you see all these organizations, all these scholarship. In fact, ever since probably 2012 and on, there are websites listed with all these scholarships online, in different school websites, organizational websites. Everybody wants to link their money, because, again, we know some of these scholarship and resources are tied to wealthy people, and so therefore they need their tax taken out. Sometimes it's not all roses and peaches. That's the reason why they're giving out their money, so they need to be giving out their money. And also, just telling students, do not be afraid to go into the a space that you couldn't think that you could apply for. For instance, Harvard, right? Everybody around the world, no matter what background, you know what Harvard is. Never
Mhm.
be afraid to apply anyways.
That's
Don't
right.
just think with the money, apply
That's right.
anyways, and everything else will come after. When I had moved here, they had told me, because of my status, because of I'm just new here and my language disparity, I would never get into college in general. I applied to 21 college. I got into 22 college. I got into 21. And the one that I did not get into is because I was waitlisted, and they did not know how to deal with my status then, because I could not do the FAFSA. I had to do the CSS profile into bringing my parents' assets and income from Haiti, which are, very foreign stuff. So just not being afraid to just do it anyways, and then everything else, qui stressant, qui aborte travail, you'll figure it out afterwards. But
Sure.
one thing I'm a firm believer, and I always say, there is money in education here in America. You just really have to seek for it. I do not believe in people paying for education. A certificate maybe, something else maybe, but and then people, every time I say that, people are like, what are you talking about, Annie? I don't believe in paying for education here. There is always a way to pay for it that is not coming out of our parents' pocket. I hope this was helpful.
Yes. Marie-Josée?
Oh, merci beaucoup. Moi, t'es fin descendre mer et puis me pensais c'était voix que me te mette tout, me commencer à parler. En tout cas, merci pour belle présentation avec recherche qu'on vient avec yo. Et question pas me pas le poser li, mais c'est juste on petit link mais pour te dans dernière information qu'on bail pour gain bourse. Mais Tabitha Sisters next time vient avec quelques diseases tout parce que je crois que même j'en gain pour éducation, gain bourse, gain crop qui la pour aider au monde. On sait de monde qui ont une série de maladies qui pas qu'à aller plus loin mais qui carrément fait vie sinon qu'à joindre monde ça venir tout expliquer qui côté au cal chercher bourse gen monde tout carrément vle bay tout pour nous chercher link ça yo tout nous cal joindre yo. Bon ça c'est juste une parenthèse mais sans pile mais moi mes questions alors remarque m'ta remet poter on renforcement dans sorte dit par rapport à présence parents pour ti moun nan. Présence parent moi ouais même non seulement pour ti moun yo moi me vivre expérience même moi tout dans le mal dans nursing home yo mal faire consultation moi ouais patient qui gagne petit yo toujours là yo joine soin avant alors c'est même j'en vinn croire que le té tout pour petit moi parce que me songe le premier petit moi lieutenant primaire m'était gon professeur qu'on a voyé des des pages pour la mettre pour dans agenda en pile explication peut-être qui ça petitement te viré au moment que t'as parlé à un petit monde pas derrière et qui l'a petitement te gain 7 ans année prochaine fille même dame nan me dit décidément Marie-Josée faut faire partie de conseil scolaire là. Moi entrer me fait partie de conseil scolaire ça depuis le ça me pas jamais joindre fille ça écrit dans cahier petite moi du tout encore au contraire c'est des compliments des stem cap venir et des pas présence et puis me paraître me présenter cas moi demander comment énergie et temps que le gain juste pour la écrire 5 pages pour petite moi t'a regarder derrière et c'est seul grand noir parce que excusez-moi si me parler comme ça parce que dans zone dans Canada l'homme t'ai fait avec ti moun moi Ottawa dans zone nan pas de grand pile moun qui coule pas dans zone nan petite pas non seulement qui dans classe mais toute discussion qu'a fait c'est sous dol qui fait mal fait partie de conseil là bon depuis là ça tout paix qui fait si on va me trouver que nous doit aller pour nous connaître ça qu'a fait ça qu'a dit et puis pour nous stand pour petite nous si nous pas stand pour petite nous yo pas camper pour nous au contraire y a craser pour ti moun yo ka à la tête parce que j'en dis en tout partie émotionnelle là très compté parce que l'anti moun gon échec ça cap aller jusque li fin grand monde et ça c'est partie ça qui t'écrasé là qui fait faut nous faire si nous pas subi ça si nous ka aider merci en pile merci pour point.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I am being conscious of time. I do see that we have one more hand. And I also wanted to say, again, we are aware that parents are working. This is also our job, but something I know you guys are from various spaces, something that's called PTO, Parent Teachers Organization. It's worth it to be a volunteer and being part of this organization. One thing I'm also a strong believer on is volunteering your time. And I know no pagita, I know for no travail, but just checking in, just being a service, like, passing out food or flyer once a month or once in the year, it also will take you a long way to be exposed to resources, partnership, and just everything that's happening into your child's school system. And I'm going to leave it to Astrid if we have the time for that one more.
Yes. Nous avons Dr. Antoine qui est main levé. Nous avons Dr. Antoine.
D'accord, vraiment rapide. Et me congratuler présentatrice là. Very, very good. Question qui est là, bon, je crois dans l'éducation payée, je ne paye comme d'ailleurs je paye depuis 11 ans, je paye l'école jusqu'à doctorat. Et je paye ça, et même joli. Si y a un doctorat, Kounia, il y a un examen à prendre, pas payer. From Simbage Kat Mbage, mais pas important. You said something that's very important about grading system. Like the child can get all A's and don't know the difference between dozen and half a dozen. Meaning, in other words, li manque un concept. And the main problem here is it the child problem or fault? Is it the parent or is it the system? Because if you want to, like for me, for example, I can get A for every class and I just only know how to take the test or how to pass the class. So now, is it the children problem or the system problem or the teacher problem? So I'm going to let you answer.
So to understand the question, I think it's kind of similar to you asked me. So is you saying like a child can get all A's but still lack comprehension into a certain areas?
I'm not even talking about the child. I'm talking about me, for example. I can go to get all A's if I want to class. I just know I can listen to the teacher and know where the teacher like to get a question. I prepare everything. I get A for every class, and I don't do anything. I get A for a lot of classes, I don't do anything. But
and you
now,
don't know anything. Okay.
is it a problem, or is it my problem,
Okay.
or is it the system problem? Is
Okay.
the system?
Okay, so the question is that you could get all A's and sometimes you can prepare yourself for an exam or something that you'll be doing, but you still don't know anything that happened into the class. I feel like that's a bit of a tricky question, if I'm being honest. Because you guys will not be tricking me in my profession. I'm kidding. To be honest, I think it's the different ways of learning, right? And I think that goes back to when I was speaking about where it's so important when you go to school or children go to school to really instill the love of learning into them. Because people, when they're saying that they feel like grade school is a scam, some of them are not lying. They generally did not learn anything, and how did they pass? Just like Astrid was saying, say monte class, monte class. They did what they had to do. And so when it comes to if you are a person that you're generally great at taking a test, because I think a lot of Haitians, in my opinion, I think they're great test takers because of how the system and the foundation have been for us. I always credit my education success into my Haitian background because I know exactly how to study. I know exactly how to memorize certain things to know how to transfer that into an exam. And I think if that's the case for you, that you are able to pass a class very well with all A's, and that's because of the outcome of your test. I think you're just really concentrating to passing the class. You're not really getting the love of and again, it's nothing to blame or to point fingers at anybody. You're not getting the love of learning in terms of like, oh, I'm genuinely learning this material. I'm genuinely doing this. In my profession right now, even as a person that has my master's, one, it is required by certain school, and I make it a point for me to continue to enhance my master's by getting a few certificates, a few different things that are available to me, and I'm genuinely enjoying the material, right?
But I will agree with you. I agree with you. But the problem is the system. They just put me to a 4.0 and I'm valedictorian. So I become valedictorian 4 times in my career. So therefore, you got them. So for bachelor twice, master twice, doctorate twice. So therefore, I may not know it. I don't know organic chemistry, and I get A for everything. So now, do you blame me for that? I become valedictorian 4 times.
Yeah, I think that's quite the difference. I would love to know which specific school system or where that is. I think it's another example, perhaps, where people are multi-class.
I'm gonna let you go. Can I check you more? I'm gonna make
Yes,
you. Can I
of
check you
course.
more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Feel free.
Okay. I'm gonna check you more.
And
I went to Harvard, certified twice in Harvard, and I just go there and I read the material only the morning I have to go to the class. So now I should get good. So now, do you think I'm not good? Harvard, come on.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. Don't be afraid to apply to these prestigious places because there's space. But I'm happy to continue this conversation. Astrid and Pigot can feel free to pass on my information. Like I said, I'm just generally passionate in things like that to talk about the resources, the strategies into education to navigate and leveraging your network, the resources into it, because I think it's very important. Everybody has the right to a great education. Again, thank you to Tabata Sisters. If anybody else doesn't have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or reach out to me myself personally. I had a lot of fun. Thank you for being in community with me. It is an honor and a privilege, and huge thank you to Pierrette Durandis and Madame Monique Baltazar and the amazing host Astrid Vertus for having me and just really being here. Much appreciated.
Merci Annie, merci beaucoup. M'a répété encore your energy and your love for education that permeates you. We can see it. Et pour me répondre, Dr. Antoine, il y a des gens qui yo juste en le fort. C'est comme ça, yo, comprendre, yo pas qu'à côté. I have a niece like that, and she's so shy. She just easily learn things, easily. And she doesn't even acknowledge that. And one of my children, I have to tell them, listen, don't take that for granted because not everybody is just like you, Dr. Antoine. Not everybody is just like you. So, things comes, so easy, effortlessly. Yo apprend, yo juste passer test, y a exceller alors que on l'autre lui-même, c'est struggle pour qu'à comprendre half a dozen from a dozen. So, thank you. Our next presentation, prochaine présentation que nous avons, c'est le 12 juillet que la pied sur un forum ça et titre là c'est cheminement pour nous caguer mentalement nous juste mentally wholeness en plein. Merci Annie, you were wonderful. We appreciate you. If you have one last word to say, we will take it from you. Otherwise, we will pray.
Yes, honestly, I'm just incredibly grateful in just being in the space like that with also a faith-based space, which again, I think when you ask God for something, he hears you, and being in a space like that, I'm more than happy to come back. I'm more than happy to speak with newcomers who are just coming and learning the system. Like I said, I'm just getting immersed into the Canadian system. I know there's some people from Canada, from Haiti, from different parts, different states in here. And so, like I said, this is what I do at the core. It is also my job, but at the core of who I am, I'm also just getting into education consultation. So hopefully God is bringing the money my way. And so, yeah, I'm just really here. I'm really here and to do this work and to really shedding light into the information that I feel like people in our community may lack. So
Yes.
again, I'm just super grateful. I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous in the beginning for this, but I'm just really happy to see the amount of people in here and just you guys being invested. And I knew where I was coming. I knew I was coming to a space with full of educated people. So I appreciate the energy that you guys have afforded me, and just really thank you too. Again, I can't not shout out enough Pierrette Durandis, Madame Monique, and you Astrid for just being by my side during this time. So
Thank
again,
you.
huge thank you, and I pray that God blesses you all incredibly beyond his measures. So
yes, thank you. And please remember to share the links with the information with us. And
I will email
yes. All right. So c'est un gros plaisir pour nous être ensemble à soi. Une fois de plus, nous apprendre, c'est pas seulement spirituellement, mais surtout, je nous ai mentionné tout au début, éducationnellement haïtien, nous prenons ça. Et si nous avons tout tools là à disposition, nous, c'est sûr que Timoun yo a pu avancer et nous engager l'éducation, c'est pour succès et pour protection tout et pour communauté en général pour nous évoluer et monter plus haut. Merci à tout le monde, c'est un grand plaisir et pour nous continuer, nous avons demandé Joanne Bosséjo pour le faire dernière prière pour nous.
Ok, merci beaucoup à nos BCPF, nos monde qui sont capables pour nous capter. Merci encore une fois pour journée ça que le sabbat ça pour nous permettre que nous passions bien à l'amour de tes ailes. Merci encore une fois, Seigneur, pour privilège ou bailler les dit ça Annie. Éducation bali pour qu'à partager avec nous, permettre que ton Saint-Esprit qu'à toujours avec lui et ouvrir l'esprit pour qu'à toujours apprendre et qu'on s'attend qu'à partager. Et nous disons la parole, mon peuple périt faute de connaissance. Et nous te remercions pour connaissance au bali. Et permettre que lui qu'à toujours des connaissances pour partager la l'autre et qu'on sache que royaume qu'à grandi. Seigneur, merci beaucoup pour le groupe ça que vous mettez dans la communauté ça, pour aider nous dans spirituel, social, dans tous les points. Nous devons permettre que le groupe ça grandisse et que très bientôt, Seigneur, nous venons, tout qui est dans le groupe là, famille nous prêts pour nous jouer les béatitudes que nous réservons pour nous. Encore une fois, Seigneur, permettre que nous pas déplacer de groupe ça, mais permettre que nous déplacer de ton côté. Et nous connaissons que vraiment, nous pas de contrôle de semaine qui venir. mais nous remettons toute semaine. Permettre que nous soyons toujours attachés à nous-mêmes et à nous-mêmes seuls, car nous dit, toute bagaille dans le monde l'a passé, mais paroles ne vont pas jamais passer. Permettre que nous soyons toujours éduquer nous-mêmes par ta parole, car ta parole est la vérité. Encore une fois, Seigneur, bénis le groupe ça, bénis nous chaque qui participe et permettre que nous bénis nous spirituellement, matériellement et socialement. Encore une fois, Seigneur, reste avec nous, dirigez par nous, continue bénir nous, bénir reste pour nous. Nous demandons toute grâce au Seigneur. C'est parce que nous nous dire, mais c'est par ton seul Fils Jésus qui règne maintenant au siècle des siècles. Amen.
Amen. Amen.